closer. So, oh, that's much better.
Oh, we're so much closer.
That was looking kind of scary. Just so you'll know, she's sweaty.
I went on a buyer's tour with, no, I'm not going to tell you how old they were because that's so rude, but they were fit people, man. And we climbed down 200 feet into this valley and then up the cliff again and then a 15-acre hike. I had to go to Walmart and buy some $18 tennis shoes because I forgot my boots at home.
And now she's sweaty.
And now I'm so sweaty.
I can feel the heat radiating off of her. Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Real Estate Rockstars. I'm Jennifer Wise.
And I'm Amber Carpenter.
And we are both licensed realtors with Century 21 The Hills Realty in Kerrville. And today we're going to be talking about the option period and what that means to you as a buyer or a seller in a real estate transaction. But before we get started, we just wanted to remind everybody that we are not licensed attorneys and we are not giving legal advice.
No.
So if you have questions about real estate, legal questions, please, we encourage you to contact your attorney to get those answers. So Amber's going to get us started.
That's right. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the background or giving you some footing for what the option period is in Texas. So what it is a specified number of days set in a real estate contract that the buyer really can terminate for any reason. So the option, when it's in a contract, creates the right to terminate within a certain number of days for a specified price without risking that earnest money deposit. The Texas real estate option period does several things, but I'm just going to give you a summary and then we're going to kind of break those down a little bit further for you. So one, it provides security for the buyer. It has an agreed upon number of days for a specified price that is negotiable. It starts the day after the contract is executed. Everybody has come to agreement and signed. It requires consideration. We'll go into consideration a little bit later. Mm-hmm. It ends at 5 p.m. local time on whatever day it ends. And it can be extended for any amount of days that's mutually agreed upon by the buyer and the seller.
Right. So what exactly is the option period and what does it specifically involve? So it provides security for the buyer. So for the buyer, if he or she decides that you want the option period written into the contract, which you always want it to be written into the contract, it's used solely for the right to exercise a termination. So you can terminate that contract for any reason during that specific day.
Like what if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed?
Terminate. What if I find another property I like?
Terminate.
What if I just change my mind and I'm scared?
Terminate.
Terminate. Right. So that's what it's there for, okay? You can do it for any reason during those days only. Again, during those days only. So it has an agreed upon number of days. So the number of days are set forth in the contract. That's negotiable. So the buyer may say, I want X number of days to terminate. The seller may say, I'm only going to give you blank number of days. So once you guys come into an agreement, that's the days that it's set forth. It's typically between anywhere of 1 to 10 days. Sometimes, depending on the market, it can be more than 10 days. But right now in the market that we're seeing, 10 days is very standard. That gives them time to get their inspections done and do other things. Okay? So once you get your inspections in and all of that, you'd want to make sure to do that within your option period time. Because if you find something on the inspection that you want to be able to terminate based on that, and you'll only be able to do so if you're protected with that option period.
Or negotiate within that time as well.
Right. So say you get that inspection back, there's some things that need to be repaired. Ask that seller to make those repairs. They can say yes or no, kiss my foot, but you'll ask for it. And if they don't, or if they've not done it to your satisfaction, you can terminate as long as you're within that option and protect your earnest money. Your option money is non-refundable, so whatever that number is, the seller does keep it if you terminate, okay? And the option period starts at the beginning of the date of the contract being executed or signed. So say you go into contract today on, Friday, your option period starts day 1 tomorrow. So it's 10 days from the date that you sign it. So we want to make sure that we're clear on that when that date starts, okay?
Okay, so some things to keep in mind. The option period requires consideration. Now, I said that a little bit earlier. A lot of people don't know what consideration means in these terms. So what it is, it's a non-refundable fee paid to the seller called the option fee. The option fee is negotiable. We mentioned that earlier. The option fee is given. You can hand deliver it or you can mail it to the seller or to the seller's agent. And it needs to be delivered no later than 11:59 p.m. the third day after the effective date of the contract.
But don't be giving that seller that money at 11:59 p.m.
No, that's just rude. So, for example, if the contract today is June 1st, if you guys executed today, you would need to pay the seller the option period money by June the 4th at 11:59 p.m. But be considerate, like she said. Don't do that. That's rude.
Just send it. Just send it.
The option fee may or may not be credited towards the buyer's closing cost. Sometimes if you're in a really tight situation and there's multiple offers, your agent, if you're working with a Rockstar, knows some tricky ways to make it seem a little bit sweeter deal. If the buyer chooses to terminate the contract during that option period, though, remember, the seller gets to keep that money regardless. That's kind of their, sorry, it didn't work out. Hope this makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, Jen, what happens on the MLS whenever a property goes under option?
Okay, so when the property is under contract and you're within that option period, so what happens then is that a change is made in the status of that property. So when you go on the MLS or realtor.com, if you're not a realtor, and you see the status and it says active, it'll be changed in the MLS to under contract option period. And what that does is it tells other agents, hey, this property's under contract, but these buyers can still terminate if they wanted to within their option period. It doesn't say how long it is, it just says it's under contract option period. This may or may not deter another buyer from coming and seeing the property and putting in a backup offer. Most of the time we see that buyers won't engage a property as much, so keep that in mind, sellers. You're taking that property off the market essentially for whatever the option period is, 10 days, 2 weeks. So just know that buyers will kind of lay off a property, is what we found, lay off a property while that's going on until they can kind of see what's happening.
Because if you do a backup, and this is kind of off topic, you're still going to have to give that option period and that earnest money just as if you were number one.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's why buyers don't.
That's right.
Typically engage.
So then also the option period ends. So remember we had up until right before midnight to give the option money. When the option period ends, so say it ends on day 10, it ends at 5 p.m. on day 10. Now that's a recent change in the real estate world. It used to be 11:59, and then agents and sellers would be waiting up till midnight to find out if that buyer's going to terminate. So it's been changed to 5 p.m. Thank you. And now when that day comes, day 10, 5 p.m., if a buyer has not terminated, they're not locked into that contract. So I want to keep that in mind. And then lastly, that option period, say it's set for 10 days, it can be extended. It has to be mutually consented upon. The buyer and the seller agree. Can be extended. What would be a reason to do that? Say all the inspectors in town are booked up and nobody can get over to see the property until day 12. Well, as a buyer, you're not going to want to go past, we're not going to let you, as a buyer's agent, go past that option period for your inspection because now you're locked in. So that's one reason of why you may extend an option period. If you do request to extend it, typically sellers want some extra money consideration for doing so. So you would make a request, offer some additional consideration, and hope that a seller agrees.
So guys, that's it. I hope we've helped you understand a little bit better what a termination option period is in a real estate transaction. I hope you will join us next week on the Real Estate Rockstars. Please be sure to like and follow both of our business pages. Comment below somebody that this might help out. And like always, we could give you 21 reasons to work with us, but you're only going to need
1.
That's right.
Bye.
Adios.